and he shot invisible fire at us. And
Wow.
I said, okay. Like, I don't know what the problem is, right? Let's kick this off right.
All right.
We're
Welcome back.
No, do that again.
Welcome back
There
to
you go.
Ridgeside K9 Ec Radio with
Welcome
Mike
back
Swerchak and Greg Hunt of
to
Ridgeside K9.
Greg's ASMR.
Eastern Carolina Radio. Topic of discussion for today.
I'm going to ruffle some feathers.
Let's do it.
And it's going to dial back into like humans and dogs, right? The amount of dogs that we get into training that are prescribed an ungodly amount of medications irritates the shit out of me. And I'm not talking like my dog has some thyroid issues or like he's got blood issues or whatever.
Right.
But the amount of dogs that come to us on like Xanax, fluoxetine, trazodone, because they're not trained, irritates the shit out of me. And I think where this kind of all started is when I had kids. Like, I never really thought about it. I never owned a dog personally that needed any medication to suppress it, right? Let me back it up. We're going to caveat this. This is going to be like a series that we're going to do. We're going to put more in depth into it, talk to veterinarians, talk to other trainers who have more experience in this. I'm not a vet. I'm a knuckle dragger at heart.
I just play one on TV.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of dogs who have been prescribed a bunch of shit that don't need to be on it.
Right.
So where this started and really kind of lit the fire was when I had kids. And my oldest son, who's now 5, but when he was in daycare, he was like maybe 3 at the time. The director or one of his teachers or the director, the principal, whatever her title was, pulled me and his mom into the office at the end of the day and recommended that our son be on ADHD medication, right? And I said, number one, how the fuck do you have any of those qualifications to like tell me what my son should take? Like,
Right.
You work at a fucking daycare. Like, you're not a doctor, whatever. Number two, what makes you say that? And I'm like, I went from 0 to 100 very quickly. And they said, well, he was out on the playground and he shot invisible fire at us. And
Wow.
I said, okay. Like, I don't know what the problem is, right? Like, to me, he's an imaginative 3 years old, boy who has a lot of energy.
Yeah.
And they're telling me I need to put him on some medicine to slow him down. Like, to me, I would try and encourage that.
They should have put up their invisible shields.
Captain America.
Yeah.
But it was bullshit, right? And then it transfers into dogs. How many dogs do we see that come in and they're like on high dosage of shit that, number one, from the little bit of research that I've done, there is 0 clinical studies that proves the effectiveness of like any of these bullshit SSRIs that they're prescribing dogs. Number two, all the studies that are coming out now say they're full of shit on human studies, right? So basically when you have like anxiety or depression, it's defined by low levels of serotonin in your body, right? So all these drugs do is take that little bit of serotonin and ration it out, or they suppress you. And to me, naturally, like, my thought process is if I have a low level of something, like I use testosterone. If I have low testosterone levels, how do I increase those levels of testosterone? I inject testosterone and I put more testosterone into my system.
Right.
I don't ration out the little bit of testosterone that I have and try and spread it out, right? So with dogs, if we have, and nobody's done any studies to see like the serotonin levels in dogs, that's why it has anxious behavior. That's why it is misbehaving or it's hyperactive. But then we pump them full of medicine and make them like zombies or robots and feel like shit. And in my experience, most of those dogs that come in are worse because of the medicine.
Right.
And they're more reactive because they're not seeing things clearly. And then when we put them in a training cycle, get them off of the bullshit and help them, like get them the exercise they need, get them the training, teach them exactly what they're supposed to be doing, get them out in the sun, all of that stuff magically goes away because it's just through training and getting the dog what they're supposed to do. Most of the high energy, high anxiety dogs that come to us that are, excessively chewing or barking, spinning, doing a bunch of separation anxiety behaviors, when you break it down and you actually talk to the client, okay, how many hours a day do you walk this dog or do anything engaging with it? Well, 0. Okay, so you have this dog that's meant to go fast and do fun things, cooped up in a 900 square foot apartment. No wonder it's going fucking apeshit. So it irritates the shit out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get it and understand it. You could give me 100 dogs on a leash and drug half of them, and I wouldn't be able to tell you which ones, had trazodone. Like I'll get dogs in, and
It's probably the one falling over.
well I'm saying like while I'm handling it or whatever, the owner will say like, oh, like, do you want his like trazodone or do you want his meds or something? And I'd be like, no, like we don't, like if you haven't read the email, if you haven't like heard us already say it, like we don't need the medication. Like you can just take that home with you. Like we don't want that.
Yeah.
Like it's not gonna be useful. Like I'm not going to have those problems where like I would think I would need it or whatever, but like,
from a safety standpoint, the only time we do step in, and I know you do this, but I'm just making sure people don't jump in our shit. If the dog has been on a high dose of something for an extended period of time, there's obviously going to be withdrawals. So we're going to work through that with the guidance of a vet to understand, like we'll have the clients call their specific vet and say, hey, how do I get this dog off this? Because I don't need it anymore. I just need to train the dog, exercise the dog, get the dog into some sunlight, and, hopefully, prevent his liver from doing some wild shit or fixing his blood work and blah, blah. But if we have to get the dog off the meds, we'll follow a protocol, Xanax, trazodone, whatever it is, because there is an addiction to it. And that's some bullshit that we put into the dog.
Right. Like, and like, it's sad when you think about like affecting our dogs that way, or not unknowingly affecting our dog that way when like you said, all they really need is just like what they really need in general is just the communication and structure, but like giving them that sunlight, giving them that exercise, getting them out there to just work and be a dog and learn how to function in our environment or in our society like that. Like I've never had a dog where I've been like, oh, like they need a different mental picture or something. Like I can give you that mental picture. I can show you what to do, or I can show you how to behave, or I can show you, what neutrality is without injecting your, or pumping your bloodstream with something.
I don't want a zombie.
Yeah.
Like it irritates the shit out of me because and even with people, like if you look at how many depressed people, how many anxious people there are in today's society, it's because they're lazy and they sit inside and they don't do things. And it's free to get outside and walk. It's free to do something hard like work out, go for a run, go for a jog, and just like do what the human is designed to do.
Right.
So if we do that, like the amount of studies that are coming out now, like the number one thing to help against depression is exercise and sunlight, and $0.
Yeah.
Right. And with dogs, I assume, like we all do all these inferences. I assume the reason that vets prescribe dogs Xanax, off label is because they're assuming that they work the same way as humans.
Right.
So if we can make that assumption, then why can't we make the assumption that if my dog has anxiety issues, why can't I exercise it? Why can't I get it out in sunlight? And why can't I give it a healthy diet? And let's see if that helps the dog. And then if not, maybe we need to try something different, right? And I'm not even talking about the training aspect, just like overall health.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet it'll have a dramatic effect. But I think just like with humans, the reason why that's never talked about is because it doesn't make anybody any fucking money.
Yeah.
Right? Just like with, and maybe I'm tinfoily or whatever, but there's a lot of conspiracy or like foreshadowing that proves like the health industry for humans wants sick humans because they can't make money off healthy humans. Right? It costs a doctor $0, like in a health clinic, like when an obese patient comes in, hey, go outside and walk. How am I going to make money off of that as a doctor?
Right.
But if I can say, hey, eat all this bullshit food, come back to me, let me check your blood work. Oh, let's try this pill. Let's try this pill. Let's try this pill. I can make a lot of money off that because I'm getting kickbacks from the pharmaceutical industries. So it's a fair assumption that it happens in the dog world as well.
Yeah.
And I think we see a lot of that too with like food, right? You guys have the store and sell really high quality dog food.
Right.
None of that shit you can find in a vet's office.
Right.
Like I know Science Diet, the GI one or whatever. Like have you ever had a client come in with that stuff?
Yeah.
It looks like wafers and there's like zero nutritional value to it. It's just a bunch of carbs to fill up your dog's stomach.
Yeah.
And I've also never seen a healthy looking dog on it. Like they usually have skin problems.
Yep.
I don't know.
You know, I mean, like I definitely agree. There's a lot to it there, and kind of while you were saying that, I was thinking to myself, you know, like you don't like look at a pack of wolves and go like, oh my, like National Geographic like goes, look at this wolf over here. It looks like it's depressed and needs anxiety meds. Like all the wild animals that are in the world do just fine without medication.
Yeah.
You know, like humans, dogs, we're giving these dogs or ourselves things that we don't need when it's just like living life the way that it should be lived, I guess you could say. Get outside, enjoy things, smile, live, laugh, you know, are great remedies for those problems, for that anxiety or for that depression, whatever it is.
And separation anxiety is another one. I think like that's some human bullshit that we put into the dog world, and we created this thing. Oh, my dog has separation anxiety. And now it seems to be like a cultural thing where everybody's dog has separation anxiety.
Well, and from both sides of it, like it is, you know, it is a pack animal that, you know, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, like 4 walls, a roof, and a floor aren't natural for a dog. You know, like they're part of a pack. They're part of, you know, a integrated family where they normally are together. So like, you know, I always tell clients, you know, whenever we first started bringing wolves into our pack, you know, they hunted with us, they gathered with us, they worked with us. And then, you know, centuries later, when, you know, mom and dad got a 9 to 5 and then we leave the dog at home, like, of course they're going to be destructive when, you know, it's been in their genetics or it's been in their breed and lines to like do stuff and be with us.
Yeah.
But definitely, so like I do feel like we have created a mental imbalance from taking dogs from where they were to where they are now. Like, again, staying home all day if, you know, we're gone at work. But we definitely make it worse than it needs to be in terms of like coddling or like talking to the dog when they are going through that anxiety. Like when my dog, like we had a dog dropped off, you know, and the owner said like, oh, like they're probably gonna, you know, bark and whine because like I'm leaving, like they have really bad separation anxiety. And like the dog wasn't doing anything, but as they're walking out, they're like, you know, don't bark, don't whine, don't, like they're like talking to the dog as they're backing up and leaving.
They're having the anxious
like
behavior.
they were having separation anxiety, inducing like more stimulation into the dog.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, I bet they do have separation anxiety, but like I'm holding the leash, I'm communicating with the dog, you know, what to do, what not to do, but like we definitely make it worse 100%.
Yeah, I think, and you were during the pandemic, right? Number one, the amount of anxiety cases that we saw as trainers like skyrocketed. Number
like
two,
COVID puppies.
Yeah. And the I was just trying to refrain from saying COVID, so
sorry.
YouTube doesn't throttle this.
Well,
yeah, I mean, we can't get less throttles. But yeah, with the anxious behavior went through the roof, and the aggression cases went through the roof from at least what I was dealing with. And I think we're on the back end of that now, where like people have 3-4-year-old dogs that, you know, people are starting to go back to work. All these corporations are starting to mandate you have to go back into the office. Remote working is kind of by the wayside, unless you're a dog trainer. It's pretty dope. But I think we created most of these issues because the amount of dogs that we've trained, you've trained a lot, I've trained a lot, where like, oh, it has separation anxiety. It's going to do a bunch of stuff. And then I just take the dog for a walk.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do a thing. right? It doesn't cry when it goes into the kennel. It doesn't whimper because I just gave it some exercise.
Right.
If I just threw it in a kennel, left it in there for 12 hours and then put it in there and didn't do anything with it, yeah, probably, because it's bored as shit and it's going insane.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just do stuff with it, they're happy.
Yeah. Or like, you know, if you put the dog in a wire kennel in the living room while you're watching TV, of course it's going to bark and yap and want out.
Yeah.
Or I can just put the dog in a proper kennel in a proper location, and now the dog can actually sleep.
Yeah.
You know, like now my puppy or now my dog isn't just anxious the whole time, panting and breathing because like they see me, they're stimulated from all the lights and the wire kennel allowing all that in. You know, I can put them in the proper tool, proper location, and it's going to set the proper mindset for the dog to actually allow them to get their rest. Because, you know, I tell people a lot, like, you know, dogs should be sleeping about 18 to 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're like, oh, like my dog, not my dog. Like my dog's always up and at it. Like, yeah, because you're inducing stimulation to your dog constantly. Yeah. Like you're constantly talking to them or constantly doing whatever. Like, whereas once we come home, like we've left the cameras on, we're like, we've watched the dogs at the house. Like if we're gone for 8 hours, Drake and Dixie are sleeping on the couch all day long.
Yeah.
They might get up, move to a different spot and lay back down.
Circle around, maybe go get a drink of water and then back to sleep.
And then we come in the door, they wake up, grab their toys, wiggle butt. But then after 10 minutes of like us like petting them or talking to them or whatever, we sit down, they sit down, they're back to sleep again.
Yeah.
Like dogs should be getting that much rest a day. But like when you're forcing your dog almost in a way to stay awake, you know, it's like if, you know, humans, if we need 8 hours, whatever the time frame is, if we need 8 hours of sleep, if you push us and you only give us 2 hours of sleep every day, you know, we're going to be depressed or anxious, or we're going to have a different mindset going into like the week if we've only had X number of hours of sleep.
Or I even notice it when I eat like shit, right? Like if I go 3-4 days in a row, like I'm on a travel, I just got back, traveling, like I didn't meal prep or do any of that stuff. So I'm just eating out and catching up on old restaurants that I missed. But yeah, you feel like shit, you sleep like shit, and then I'll get snippy, I'll get anxious. And
improper food, improper diet, improper like lifestyle scheduling is going to show some problems. So like we do that to dogs, but on a 24/7, 365 basis, mostly being fed an improper diet or mostly being given an improper schedule of, you know, awake and sleep.
And the solution to that is not to fucking drug them.
Right.
Right. If the solution to that is get the dog the thing that it needs. The only time I'll respect, and I've had this argument with behaviorists all the time because they seem to be the ones that are pushing drugs a lot, right? Besides vets.
I still don't know what a behaviorist is. I think they're like the tooth fairy. I've never seen one. Like we have clients that have been to behaviorists. I've never seen one.
Yeah. They just make shit up. And they don't actually train dogs. From the ones that I've had experience, that they're just the ones that like to talk and push an agenda of XYZ, but they don't actually like hands-on leash train a dog.
Right.
There was that one client we were going back and forth with a while ago.
The Shiba client?
I don't remember what the dog breed was, but it had, she took a dog to a behaviorist. Dog had like 3-4 previous bites.
Yeah.
And then took a dog to a behaviorist, and the behaviorist gave like this protocol of how the dog should be trained. And it was very obvious how they perceive the dog should be trained. Like redirect with treats, all this bullshit that doesn't really work.
If you know how to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
Like get the results that you think you know how to do.
And the client was like, I'll pay you whatever you want if you follow this protocol for training. And I'm like, you came to me for our expert advice. This is how we're going to train the dog, XYZ. And it just comes back to the simple reward good behaviors, correct bad behaviors. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to do it in the dog's language.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to do that. Okay. You're not the client for me.
Yeah.
But I recommend, if this is the regiment that this behaviorist is recommending for you, see if they offer training to coincide with that.
Yeah.
And they don't.
Nope.
So they're like, surprise, like, hey, on paper, this looks really good. But I don't actually know how to do that because I never done it. I just read about it in a fucking textbook. But the answer is not to drug them, right? Like, I don't know. I'm really excited to deep dive into this whole series that we're going to do. Talk to some vets that are like pro medicine, like, oh yeah, absolutely, let's hammer these dogs let's make them zombies.
Yeah.
Find vets that are against it. I've already reached out to a couple that are super excited to come on and talk about it. And then training perspectives. Let's see who likes pumping medicine into dogs or who doesn't, and then see why, right?
Yeah.
Like all these there's some big names that are very pro anxiety medicine and all this stuff. I would like to see where they get paid from.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're going to preach about, oh, this dog needs to take this drugs, okay, what is your affiliation with that company, or what agenda, what somebody is paying you money to say
it's
that
being pushed.
Like the ASPCA and all that. There's fraud in the industry, and for some reason I got a ruffle feather and I'm going to figure it out.
Let's do it.
I'm like, it may sound tinfoily, but with the whole like pandemic thing, like that obviously didn't work the way everybody was hoping it was going to work. But magically, this new respiratory virus comes out with the dogs, right?
Yeah.
This is food for thought. Like, if I can't get the humans, I'll take their dogs.
I'm going to
take their dogs. They're little dogs too. It's crazy, man. But I fucking hate medicated dogs.
Yeah. And like, that's the thing, is like being passionate about what we do, being passionate about like helping people, helping dogs. Like,
yeah,
like if you ask the other side, it's about how does it sound? Like does the vet who pushes meds, like, are they that passionate about, being anti-training, or is it just like yeah, they're stupid.
It's a quick fix.
Yeah, it's a quick fix, So it's one of those things, like, we want to see the dog be better. We don't want to just Band-Aid the situation,
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up before
it.
I get myself too much into tizzy.
Yeah, well, part 10 through 20 are coming.
Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Part 2 through 10.
Yeah, but we'll definitely be dropping episodes talking. If there's certain topics or drugs or people you guys would find interesting to hear from and we can get a hold of them, let us know. Where can people find you on the old interwebs?
rsk9nc.greg, and the store is RSK9 Training Supplies.
Yep. So you can find me at Ridgeside K9 Eastern Carolina or on Mike_Swarchek. Those will probably be banned now because we said a couple no words in this episode, but it's all good.
I'm sure AI can figure out how to bleep that.
Bovid.
Yeah, can you like AI search your videos to like pull audio and censor something?
Yeah.
Like it'll auto censor curse words almost?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So if you see me nod, it's because we're saying a controversial term that'll get you throttled on YouTube. So our 34, 50 subscribers, whatever we are now, won't see this.
Let's get it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Catch you in the next one.